All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And greetings all. Hello. Thank you for that silence applause. The silent applause is the best applause. And Albert is running everything. He can only run one sound at a time. That's the problem.
No applause. You're going to have to manually clap.
If you want music, then you can't have applause. If you want applause, then you can't have music. That's the way it works. We are here on remote, and I am Mark. That is Kim. Albert, of course, are running things technical, and we are actually going to quickly set up what's happening today and then go to the White House, where they are kissing off Elon Musk after Elon's taken his chainsaw to government, and he's gone through with a wrecking ball, dismantling much of government, going first after agencies that had either made him the focus of investigation or of litigation or indeed of fines. He went after them first, fired all of those people, and actually ended much of that litigation, while even in the short time that he was in government, increasing the amount of government contracts that he has. Of course, he is sort of he's the welfare queen of government contracts, as you know, and I say that because he has $38 billion worth of government subsidies. Those aren't even government contracts, by the way. Those are government subsidies. That is to say, those are subsidies he's achieved through a lot of his work with Tesla, a lot of his work with clean energy, with the electric vehicle world. That subsidy has come from government, from the American taxpayer. So even that government that has supported him all this time, he has taken a chainsaw to, and now that his chainsaw has apparently run out of gas, he is now headed out of town. Kim is here. She is as lovable as ever and as credible as ever, and we will get to much of what's going on today. I have a lot going on with RFK Jr.
Are you being
changes
facetious?
At the CDC. What's that?
Are you being facetious?
No, I mean, I'm being sincere. Lovable as ever and credible as ever. I meant it. Yeah.
Right.
Don't let your insecurities seep into your consciousness.
Yeah.
Albert, take me to the White House, though, please, Albert, and let's see what my Lord and Savior Donald J. Trump is saying.
But most of it's going to come later. We're going to have it cauterized by Congress, affirmed by Congress. In some cases, we'll make cuts. In some cases, we'll just use it in a different layer to save the money. But it's hundreds of billions of dollars. DOGE has also fully modernized the federal retirement process and continues to work very hard on the IRS modernization. But we're taking that over with DOGE. Many of the DOGE people, Elon, are staying behind, too. So they're not leaving. And Elon's really not leaving. He's going to be back and forth, I think. I have a feeling. It's his baby, and I think he's going to be doing a lot of things. But Elon's service to America has been without comparison in modern history. He's already running one of the most innovative car companies in the world. You look at his factories and compare them with some of the old factories we have, and it's a big difference. And the most successful space company, and I guess in history,
Elon
you would
is,
have
for
to
those who
say,
are
the
just
largest free
listening,
speech
Elon is
platform
standing in his
on the internet,
black-clad sort of
Yet,
way that he stands there with the black
willingly,
MAGA
with
hat.
all of the success,
He looks like
willingly
Zelensky,
accepted
actually.
the
Remember,
outrageous
they give him such a hard
abuse
time.
and
Zelensky
slander
put
and
on a
lies and
tie
attacks
at the
because
White House. Elon
he
looks
does
just
love our
like that.
country. I know that very much. He
Got
loves
his
our
dark MAGA gear
country.
on.
He comes from another country that's going through trials and tribulations, I would say. But he's all about
Such an odd placement with
debt
Trump
of
sitting
gratitude.
and
So I just want to
Musk
thank
standing.
Elon for his time as special government employee. Can you imagine? They called him an employee, but it's a special government employee, and for coming and helping us. And he really has changed the mindset of a lot of people. A lot of people thought, maybe we'll cut 1% or 2% or 3%. Then they said, wow, we can cut a lot more than that. And we're going to do it very surgically. We're going to continue on the march. We're making America great again. When I was in Saudi Arabia, and we were in, as you know, three really great countries, predominantly the three. Qatar was great, UAE was great, Saudi Arabia, incredible. Such an incredible experience to be in those three countries. But the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and I must tell you, the great leaders of the other two that we just mentioned, they all said the same thing, that the United States is the hottest country right now anywhere in the world. And 6 months ago, we thought it was dead. It was like a dead country. And it would have been a dead country if we didn't have the right result on November 5th. It would have been a horrible, horrible situation was going on with the borders, with transgender.
These are his default remarks. I don't know that I need to hear them again. I mean, he always then defaults to the country was awful before. The country is the hottest country ever. I mean, it's always as though, all the countries of the world are competing for the People magazine cover with Donald Trump. I mean, he's really got a kind of a view of pop culture that he then overlays American diplomacy with and geopolitics with. It's really something that just exposes his both shallowness, his vacuousness, his inability to really understand anything, and then he just speaks in these generalities because he's just BSing. He doesn't really know what Musk has done. The things that Trump has really concerned himself with is, I'd say, primarily self-enrichment. Excuse me, I have to cough for a second. I've still got this horrible thing, whatever. Excuse me. But
it looks very busy behind Trump. I don't think
he's got more flags than the United Nations behind him.
Is he in the Oval Office? Is that the Resolute desk? That's what the setup he's got behind the desk?
He does have, Kim's right, it's not just the flags. He's got like all these knickknacks and it looks like pictures, right? Isn't that what...
Pictures, is that a crystal globe or some kind of award? It's just very there's a lot. It's a lot going on.
I mean, it's nice. He's got phones there with big phone banks. It's all theater to him. I mean, he's just in between golf games right now. I mean, he's either taking payoffs from the UAE or from those who have bought his meme coin, or he's on the golf course, and then he comes back for these photo ops and these pronouncements in the theater of being president. And while I may be overstating that a bit, the reality is not so far from what I've just said. Go ahead, give me a little bit more, Albert, if you would, please.
And they're great leaders in those countries, and they understood and they agreed, and that all stopped, and we're stopping others from fighting also, because ultimately we can fight better than anybody. We have the greatest military in the world. We have the greatest leaders in the world. We put one of them in charge of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as you know, General Raisin Kane, and we wiped out ISIS, completely wiped out ISIS in 3 weeks. They said it would take 5 years, and we did it in 3 weeks. And that's the way it is. But we don't want to have to use our military. We want to be peace through strength when we can. And that's the way we're going to have it. So I just want to thank Elon and all of his people. Most of those people are staying. Almost all of them are staying, and they're going to be with us. And you're going to see the results.
There's still some personal information and data from Americans that they haven't scraped off a government database. So they're going to stay behind.
Millions of dollars are going to be adding up, and they're going to continue to add. It'll be interesting, really interesting to see what the final number is going to be. But again, Elon gave an incredible service. Nobody like him. And he had to go through the slings and the arrows, which is a shame because he's an incredible patriot. The good news is that 90%
we
of
can
the
wrap
country
this
knows
up.
that.
I mean, I think, again, these are all just generalities, and these are the pleasantries that Trump sprinkles upon those who he wants to, and again, there's no substance to Donald Trump. He is a performer. He is playing president. He is doing it well. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I think he is a brilliant con man, and he has conned much of the American public, sufficient in number to win the presidency, and now he is enriching himself as president in a way. This is truly, to use the Trump phrase, there's never been anything like it. There really has never been anything like this. What's going on with Trump and self-enrichment. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars. The spigots of money are wide open for Donald Trump. So the richest man in the world, Elon Musk, who helped Trump get to the presidency. I think he helped him in several ways. We won't detail all of these things. As you know, I'm skeptical and cynical about the last election. I don't believe Trump won all the swing states legitimately. I think you can look to Pennsylvania, and we're actually going to have Nathan on, who has laid out the statistics. We've had him on a couple of times before, and we're having him on, I believe, in the next couple of weeks. And there's even more evidence of of suspicious aspects to a lot of these vote tallies as they came to the last election. But look, he's the president, and he brought Musk in, and Musk, as the richest man in the world, just to round out that thought, really bought him in large measure the presidency from the standpoint of social media dominance through X and through a carpet bombing of digital media with everything that big money in the form of Elon Musk's money could get Donald Trump. And so Donald Trump made it to the presidency, and Musk himself then was able to wildly get a return on that investment because, as I've mentioned, he's gotten billions of dollars of government contracts and new government contracts on top of those that he already had. We've detailed for you the way he shoehorned Starlink in to existing programs and bumped out those programs. He was able to essentially pick up additional contracts, and those contracts total into north of $100 billion.
Plus, he managed to get himself out of a bunch of possible fines and all kinds of things by dismantling these agencies who were coming after him for legitimate issues.
Exactly. I mean, Kim is 100% right. I mean, this was both these guys with Trump's presidency were able to escape a lot of bad stuff, right? Trump would have been crushed under the law. Eventually, the secret documents that he was, these are top secret government military, large numbers of them related to, apparently based on reporting, military secrets. Those documents taken to Mar-a-Lago, taken to Bedminster, taken elsewhere, that case would have eventually come together. And that case and all the other cases against Trump went away. And when he became president, we said it. I mean, it was going to be the get-out-of-jail-free card that he needed. But to Kim's point, Musk himself was able to dismantle agencies that had targeted Musk for everything from fines to regulatory action. So that happened at the EPA, at USAID, and everywhere else. Quickly, a shout-out to Murphy Rowan. Thank you to Murphy for a $20 super chat. Happy Friday. My youngest daughter turns 18 today and graduates next Thursday. Here's a super chat. Thank you to our beloved MTS crew. Before those college payments kick in, here's $20.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, and thank you, Murphy. Wow, 18 years old.
Her kids are amazing. Runners, dancers, just really cool.
Yeah, really, really cool. I am always a fan of Murphy Rowan, also, who has been with us since the very beginning. She's an OG of this show, so thank you. Also, thanks to Candace Worthman, who hit us with a super sticker for 20. Hi, Candace. Thank you. As we get the show started, a quick shout out to my favorite McAllister, Lucy McAllister. If she could only do news, she'd be the perfect person.
That'd be it.
Lucy McAllister with a 20. And thank you for the super sticker, Lucy. Have a great weekend. Kathleen Bryant with a 20. Wow, thanks to all the women have come in hard. They've come in hot. I love it. A $20 super
Mark
sticker.
Thompson
Thank
Friday.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the Friday magic. I may have to get up and get a Kleenex box here before long. I didn't plan this very well, but let's soldier on for the moment.
Well, while you do that, we could talk about the spelling bee.
Yeah, before we get to the spelling bee, I want. You're right. Thank you for. And before we went on the air, Kim and I were talking about the spelling bee, and Albert's got the spelling bee stuff. We're big spelling bee people here on this show. We've got a rich history with the spelling bee, so we will share that with you, and then I will get into RFK Jr. and some of the Musk scandal, because we have been talking about Musk as well. But I want to just note what John Schultz says here. I meant to ask how many children have died because of Musk's dismantling of USAID, but the important thing is that he's got more money. Exactly, John. I mean, what happened at USAID, it's a minuscule amount of money that is targeted toward these populations worldwide that desperately need American support. And you're so right to point to it. We pointed to it at the time, and it is an outrage. I mean, it's an outrage, and it's grotesque that such a wealthy nation as the U.S., which was doing some real positive work with inoculations in Africa, with the food and famine relief across that continent and elsewhere, that agency would be dismantled first by Musk is, I'll just use the word again, it's grotesque. And so you're right. I mean, for all the tears shed for the victims in Gaza and in the Sudan, et cetera, the idea somehow that they could let this guy, Elon Musk, dismantle USAID for no reason at all. There was no waste, fraud, and abuse. This was an agency dismantled simply because they had regulatory business with Elon Musk that was basically crunching him. It was hitting his businesses in such a way that he wanted to get USAID off his back. Why would you otherwise go after USAID first? You want to go waste, fraud, and abuse, you go after the Pentagon first. And they never even went after the Pentagon. The Pentagon never was touched by Doge and his magic chainsaw. So that's how you know this was all politics, this was all BS, it was theater, it was performance, and there were real victims here. And John is right in that comment to mention so many of those. And I don't mean to sound angry, but I think Americans should be angry about what's happened here because it's some kind of diabolical magic trick that they have pulled with the sleight of hand of Elon Musk going in, claiming waste, fraud, and abuse. You hear it over and over, the GOP, waste, fraud, and abuse. Now they're talking about waste, fraud, and abuse at Social Security and Medicaid, et cetera. They're going after those things that they've wanted to go after, and they just fly the flag of waste, fraud, and abuse. I'm going to get back to Elon Musk and his drug abuse, the alleged, apparently it's suggested in this New York Times piece, he was on ketamine, Adderall. There's a box of narcotics, essentially, that followed him around, and he was in and out of that box constantly. This, along with family drama, is all detailed in a new New York Times piece. I was reading it earlier this morning, and I'll share some of those details with you as we continue. But now, Albert, play me a pacer, and I want to get to the spelling bee, if you would, please.
The Mark Thompson Show.
We love the spelling bee. We used to have our own spelling bee that was concurrent. It ran concurrently with the, and concurrent would be like, that would be a low-grade spelling bee word. But the spelling bee, as I say, we used to run our own spelling bee here when we were on the radio. And now we follow the spelling bee, and the spelling bee had its big finish yesterday. And Albert, let's see the results. This is a kid who had almost won last year, but this year he wins it.
This word has a homonym.
Bro.
During its 100th anniversary, the Scripps National Spelling Bee's final round featured a wild roller coaster ending Thursday night. To explain, first, let's go back in time to last year's bee.
Nickery.
Nickery, Nicuri, Nickery.
When Dallas native Faizan Zaki, who loves to spell words as quickly as possible, got so close and finished in second place. In fact, he's only in 6th grade, so he still has 2 more years to come back and finish business. One intelligent journalist predicted he could come back and win it in 2025.
That is correct. Yes!
So let's now fast forward a whole year to this year's bee. After 243 champions entered, it came down to the final 3 last night, including Faizan. Here's where it gets crazy. After the other 2 remaining contestants spelled their words incorrectly, all Faizan had to do was spell his word and then one more to finally take that crown. Except
Kamalina.
Okay, wait.
When his time came, Faizan did the very human thing of getting a little too excited, jumping the gun.
Spelled
Commemlina. Yeah.
And assuming the wrong word.
This is surprising.
So then the other 2 contestants, Sarv and Sarvanya, returned, but eventually got out again. Suddenly, Faizan had a second chance.
Éclaircissement.
Éclaircissement. ECLAIRCISSEMENT. Éclaircissement. That is correct.
As you can see, the newly crowned 2025 champion immediately fell to the ground in relief. And after years of hard work, how did he plan to celebrate?
Probably gonna stay up the entire night or something.
Well, guys, let's run back our favorite play. The third place finisher, Sarv, who is hilarious, certainly a crowd favorite, is also in 5th grade, so now he can come back and win it next year, guys.
I love that these kids are so young.
Wow.
5th grade, the winner is a 13-year-old. Pretty terrific.
13, but that's a lot of pressure.
Oh, my God, is it ever. It really, I mean, it's extraordinary. I mentioned the documentary the other day that, really focused on, I want to say it was 5, maybe it was 6 different contestants and the kind of training they were constantly going through. I mean, it was as though they were immersed in spelling bee related workouts constantly with their family, with their friends. They had groups of just spelling and word etymology, the derivations and definitions, and it was fascinating to watch it, but to your point, it was so much pressure. I couldn't imagine living with that kind of pressure. But then they live for the competition, and the competition comes, and they rock it, or they are profoundly disappointed. What was the winning word? It was éclaircissement.
Éclaircissement, yeah. I don't even know what it means.
What does that mean?
What? Never even seen that word in print before. Clearly, I need to read more.
It was on the screen, I thought, what it meant, didn't it? Albert, what does it mean?
Albert's like, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, Albert be the last guy to know.
No clue, but I could look it up. Also, it's just
wait a minute. Put it on. Look,
right
go
here.
down. Here you go. Right there. Stop. Now, definition: the clearing up of something obscure. Enlightenment. I see. So the clearing up of something obscure or enlightenment, éclaircissement. Wow.
It's kind of what you do every day, Mark. You're the king of éclaircissement.
Yes, that's me. I'm an éclaircissement award winner. Wow. Well, congratulations to Faison, and that is also a great name, and I love an exotic name. So very, very cool.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I promised you a sexy story about Elon Musk, and let me give it to you. I will, by the way, discuss the tariff stuff. We'll discuss it with Michael Shure and Jim Avila, who are coming up in hour 2. We have Florida coming up, Michael Snyder, the Culture Blaster, also today with the freshest takes on film and on streaming. We're remote, as you can see. It's not our usual studio, so Albert is running the technical aspects of this show, but all continues. And apparently, and this is a pretty big story, as we say goodbye to Elon Musk, we, if you're just joining us, played you a little bit of the live feed from the White House as Trump was sort of riffing about, how he won the election and how the country was in horrible shape, and then Elon Musk and he have cleaned everything up, and it's amazing how, Musk has revolutionized government in such a short time. GGG, wow, wow, wow. So apparently the real story on Musk and Donald Trump and that $275 million cash dump that was given to the Trump campaign also involved a lot of drug use. And an intense drug use that was far more extensive than had previously been reported. This is quoting from the New York Times piece. Mr. Musk's drug consumption went well beyond occasional use. He told people he was taking so much ketamine, a powerful anesthetic, that it was affecting his bladder, a known effect of chronic use. He took ecstasy and psychedelic mushrooms, and he traveled with a daily medication box that held about 20 pills, including ones with the markings of the stimulant Adderall. This is according to a photo of the box and people who have seen it. It is unclear whether Mr. Musk, who's 53, was taking drugs when he became a fixture at the White House this year and was handed the power to slash the federal bureaucracy. But he has exhibited erratic behavior, insulting cabinet members, gesturing like a Nazi, and garbling his answers in a staged interview. So they go on and on. I thought the maybe it sort of borders on the salacious detail in all of this is associated with his overlapping romantic relationships. He had, during this time, both on the campaign trail and in the White House, he had a lot of family issues because he has, as you know, multiple relationships, multiple children. And there's nothing wrong with that, I guess, although... Doesn't he? How many kids does he have now, Kim? I think he has
14?
14 children. I mean, you could argue that it's hard to
But he put out a plea on X, on formerly Twitter, that apparently I was reading an article that he put out a call to, he finds these ladies on X and then propositions them to have his babies, saying he'll pay them a certain amount of money, or, promising us whatever financial arrangement. And so he may have a lot more buns in the oven cooking.
Wow. Well, that's exciting, I guess. Yeah.
He wants to spread his seed far and
that's
wide.
That's a limitless reservoir, X, pretty much. He's been married and divorced 3 times. He's fathered 6 children in his first marriage. And the thing is, some of these women thought that it was a monogamous relationship, then it wasn't. I mean, this kind of stuff almost doesn't really interest me, except for the fact that the American people are at the hands of this guy, and to the extent that he is distracted with this stuff, it may affect his decision making. The drug stuff interests me more, and it should interest Americans more. I don't know that it'll even filter down to most people, but one of the reasons is he has so many government contracts, and of course he was granted, well, I'll just speak with the government contract for a second, because NASA's government contracts with Musk involve drug testing. You have to be clean, and they generally tested for drugs, but with warning and a prescribed date for the drug testing of Musk and his people. So it's unclear, and in the piece I was looking, it was somewhat unclear to speak to the issues around his drug abuse as to whether or not he was drug tested, but that is a condition of the NASA part, anyway, of his government contract. Mr. Musk had been using ketamine often, sometimes daily, mixing it with other drugs. According to people familiar with this consumption, the line between medical use and recreation was blurring. He also took ecstasy and psychedelic mushrooms at private gatherings around the United States and in at least one other country, according to those who attended the events. The FDA has formally approved the use of ketamine only as an anesthetic in medical procedures. Doctors with a special license can prescribe it for psychiatric disorders like depression. There are people who use ketamine. They use ketamine recreationally, so I don't want to pretend that, it's not out there. But the idea that Musk is, he's handling so much government business. I mean,
your social security information is safe with that guy who's into the drug box walking around DC.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. I mean, there are federal investigations into so many of his businesses, Tesla and SpaceX, et cetera. And so while he's dismantling all of these agencies that are involved in these investigations, he's also, knee deep, as Kim suggests, in a lot of these drugs that could affect his judgment. And it's been a wild ride. He rented a cottage at Mar-a-Lago, and he was there to assist in the transition with the Trump administration. And the idea somehow that this train wreck of a guy was in charge of so much, it's disturbing in the extreme. So that's some of the reporting around Musk. It is his farewell. We showed you a little bit today, but it was just one of the farewells, because the other farewell is the farewell that Todd and Julie Chrisley have finally waived. They've waived their farewell, their goodbye to prison, because they, as you know, got a pardon from Donald Trump. They had defrauded banks of $30 million and the federal government in taxes of even more. So apparently, if you are the stars of a reality show, and they, by the way, they paid some restitution. As you know, they were serving 12 years in prison. They are now out. And Albert has a little bit of the remarks that were made by the Chrisleys as they excitedly left prison and embraced their new freedoms and their new reality show. Go ahead, Albert.
Breaking news: reality TV stars Todd and Julie Chrisley are speaking out after being released from prison. The pair was serving time for tax evasion and bank fraud. Let's listen in.
They were still at home. So it's honestly felt like such a dream to have them at home. And I'm just so grateful, obviously, to President Trump, the administration, Alice Johnson, just everyone within the pardons office. Alice obviously came on my podcast a year and a half ago, I think, before she ever even got the role. And what I respect about her is she's not in the art of giving favors. Neither is President Trump. And when she got the role, she looked into our case. They saw the injustices. The media loves to run with this $30 million scheme without doing the research to look into the documents. And there was no $30 million scheme. But I just appreciate the administration looking into it.
Just stop for a second, if you would, Albert. I just want to make the note that you can say they didn't look into the documents, the media, but all the documents were there. There was a court case here, okay? So you had a chance in court to make your case. I don't know the Chrisleys. I don't care about the Chrisleys. But the idea somehow that the documents didn't come out and no one looked at them, it was a jury that found you guilty, ma'am. It was a jury that saw all those documents, that heard all those documents. You had a chance to present all those documents. So the idea somehow that the media gave you a bad shake, it's just BS. I mean, this is the most widely reported story of a reality show star being indicted and convicted in the last handful of years. And believe me, it was all there, easily accessible and easily reported, and it was reported. Go ahead, Albert.
Get nothing.
Case, the corruption, and just the weaponization of the DOJ. So we are just so excited and moving forward. Obviously, getting them home the past 2.5 years, I have fought. Like, that was my number one priority, was getting my parents home. But now that they're home, now we move on to all the other men and women that are in the system and getting them home.
All those men and women in the system that you cared so much about.
We're going to be in D.C., and Mom and Dad are now along for the ride because we're not leaving those men and women behind. There's too much work that needs to be done. There's too much reform that needs to be done. So we're just super excited, and here he is, Todd Chrisley, after running from, the media in Nordstrom yesterday.
Good morning, guys. Thank you all very much for coming today, for having the interest. I want to thank first and foremost my Lord and Savior, because that's who got me through it.
Yeah, that's Donald Trump.
I want to thank President Trump. I want to thank the administration.
Those are two different people. Donald Trump is my Lord and Savior. Yeah.
Johnson. I want to thank every person that has prayed for us, that has stayed in the fight and that fought for the truth to come out. And so I am grateful for it. And as Savannah said, she has fought a long fight. And for any parent to see their child fight this hard, it's a double-edged sword. It's a blessing, and then your heart breaks because your child has been placed in that position to fight for you, when as a parent, you're supposed to fight for your children. So I will always be grateful to you from the bottom of my heart. We've had wonderful legal representation, maybe not in the first go-round.
I'm tearing up, Albert. You got to stop this, man. I'm choking up. These guys, they were wrongly accused. They're finally free, the Chrisleys. Now, Kim was telling me that they're going to do their own show now, right? They have another show, another reality show.
They go right from prison to their pre-approved show on I believe it's on the Lifetime network. It's a new docu-series, and it looks like he's already got his hair done, and so he's ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, he's got, for those just listening, he's got like the, are those frosted, is that a frosted top?
Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah.
And very styled. The Lifetime Network docu-series will be called The Untitled Chrisleys Project at this point. And it's
it'll be called The Untitled Chrisley Project.
Yeah.
Coming soon on Lifetime.
And so the cameras come back on, and I'm sure this will be the opening scene.
This is pretty wild. Well, there you go. That's your update on Todd and Julie Chrisley. They are free at last, free at last. Thank their Lord and Savior, Donald Trump. They are free at last.
Something else interesting in that press conference that the daughter gave was her then talking about, we have to free the rest of the people. We're going to go on and we're going to free other people.
Well, he's talking about... No, he's talking... I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
There are still people in prison that I apparently don't deserve to be there because of their tax fraud and tax evasion and fraud, general fraud. And so she's going to keep working through her podcast to free all these other people.
Well, they're reality stars in prison who need their shows to be greenlit. And so that's what they're, I think, talking about, Kim. And they may not be reality stars yet, I get it, but they're in the prison system now. There are some jewels that need to get greenlit on Lifetime, and that will be the next order of business for the Chrisleys. I'll remind you, in addition to grifting, as they did, they fraudulently manufactured a bunch of documents, and they defrauded banks of the $30 million. They cheated the American taxpayer through the IRS and through they basically skated on tons of taxes. But they took all the money and they apparently lived this big bloated lifestyle. I mean, boats and huge homes and the whole deal. So it was quite the life
they displayed it all right on television.
And so at least they put all the money on the screen. And then they paid restitution, as you know, in conjunction with this conviction. And now that they've been pardoned, and this we talked to David Katz about yesterday, the noted former federal prosecutor, they will have all that restitution money repaid to them. So they are getting a pretty, one of those big checks that like they used to have at Publishers Clearinghouse. They'll get one of those with all their restitution money returned. That's what's going to happen with the Chrisleys. Now, play me a pacer, Robert. There you go.
The Mark Thompson Show.
RFK Jr. celebrating the release of his MAHA report, the Make America Healthy Again report. Apparently skipped the champagne and went right to raw milk.
Ew.
The publication of this report has been widely criticized by scientists. There are non-existent scientific studies that were cited in the report. This Dr. Paul Saladino, who pushes this, he's like a health influencer and pushes an animal-based diet. You can imagine I'm not a fan. He sat alongside RFK Jr. and they did shots of raw milk shooters at the White House.
Gross. Didn't raw milk recently, wasn't it responsible for sickening a bunch of people?
Yes, it's been involved. Kim is absolutely right. Raw milk sickened a bunch of people, and the only thing, and this is the thing, of course, that they concentrate on and mention, the only thing you can say about it, apparently, is that the milk is free of glyphosate, which is a controversial chemical found in pesticides like weed killer Roundup, is what I'm noting here. It's commonly used by farmers. Kennedy has linked the chemical to childhood chronic diseases and said it is contaminating American food. But as Kim has said, speaking of contamination, raw milk has created all kinds of issues. And again, it's a super bad idea. We had the doctor on, I want to say it was about 2.5 weeks ago, who was talking about the fact that raw milk and drinking it is very bad for you and potentially can lead to all kinds of complications. And there is a reason that milk is pasteurized and is processed, if you will. I think you can argue about how much it should be processed, but raw milk is not good for you, is what the doctor was saying. So look, I have no idea, okay? So I'm just be honest, but every doctor I've spoken with, every scientist and doctor we've had on the show, they've all agreed that it is not a good idea to drink raw milk. So I think the idea somehow that RFK Jr., and this concerns me even more, can, quote, debunk studies, doesn't seem to really understand a lot of the studies that come out. I know there was a quote that he had recently regarding the flu of 1918 when the flu hit, or 19, when was the Spanish flu? Was it 1917? Anyway, one of you can tell me, but in any case, he was talking about the Spanish flu outbreak. That was the last big pandemic. And this is before COVID. You'll remember when COVID hit, we were all talking about the Spanish flu, and he pointed to a study that was signed off on by Anthony Fauci. This is RFK Jr. quoting Anthony Fauci. And he said that Fauci had agreed that the Spanish flu deaths were owing to the vaccine. The vaccine that they implemented to fight the Spanish flu. Now, that's not true. Anthony Fauci said that most of the people who died from secondary infections. That was the RFK Jr. Claim that let me correct myself. RFK Jr. claimed that Fauci said that most people died from secondary infections, not the Spanish flu. Take out the vaccine part because I'm confusing stories. But the point I'm trying to make is that RFK Jr. completely misread what Anthony Fauci said. Anthony Fauci said, I read it. He said they died, most of the people, from secondary infections, from bacterial infections. But the reason they got the bacterial infections was because they contracted the Spanish flu virus. But RFK Jr. was saying that the Spanish flu itself was not the thing that killed them. That's just not what Fauci said. And then he claimed that Fauci agreed with him. He made these statements on Joe Rogan's show. So the idea somehow that this guy could be directing CDC and NIH research, that this guy could be establishing U.S. policy on vaccines and U.S. policy on health moving forward, and whether or not the United States should be part of the World Health Organization, et cetera, it's scary. It's really scary. And he's populated his agency with a bunch of people who are conspiracy theorists, who are utterly without credentials. And so I'm send the maggots back to the medieval times and let them live their best lives. I hope someone can finally invent the time machine that works. I mean, it is a weird kind of medieval might overstate it, but sort of old world view of things. And I'm very much concerned that American health could be very much affected by the fact that this guy, who just seems to have no credentialed research at his fingertips, nonetheless cranks out quotes, controversial quotes and controversial policy ad nauseum. And speaking of ad nauseum, he was drinking the raw milk yesterday at the White House to celebrate Make America Healthy Again. So that's the latest on that. It was
you mentioned that he didn't quite catch the study correctly that was posted, and it's like they pick and choose their own facts. As a matter of fact, there's this big report, this Make America Healthy Again report, that the government is saying it's all true, everything in here is true, compiled by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and friends. And a reporter stood up yesterday at the press briefing room and said, that they looked into this report and that some of the studies appear to be fake, using the names of real scientists, but the scientists were contacted and said they never participated in any such study. Their accusations, the report was written using AI. So they just manufacture things. They manufacture data that supports their theories. It's the same thing as you were saying, as, looking at a study and just picking out the data you like and not looking at the entire study and what it really means.
There were 7 reports that they quoted that appear to not even exist.
Right.
That's what Kim is talking about. It's amazing. So this is a 73-page document that is the product of the Presidential Commission led by Kennedy. And this is, you're seeing chronic diseases rising among American children. So he produced this 73-page report and, again, quoted 7 studies that don't exist. So, if you want to find the fraud part of waste, fraud, and abuse, you don't have to go far because this government has it all over the place. I mean, they're all fraudsters, right? So the con men have taken over. And of course, again, the top con guy, who is Trump, the top con man, he's completely disinterested. He doesn't care. He's there for the jet that the Qataris are giving him. He's there for the money that the UAE is giving him. He's there for the resorts that are being greenlit across the Middle East, the Trump resorts that are being greenlit across Vietnam I mean, it's an extraordinary thing as nation after nation comes to him, realizing that the presidency and presidential policy and the green lights that he can offer many of these nations are completely for sale. The pardons are for sale. He is open for business. There is no business like the presidential business for Donald Trump. So he doesn't care about chronic disease increase. Again, he's only doing these public statements like the one today with Elon Musk between golf games. That's what's going on. So that's the latest on that. But it is wild that he's RFK Jr. trying to stick the landing with the raw milk stuff. The Supreme Court it has done something with these are Cuban, Haitian, Nicaraguan, and Venezuelan immigrants who have fled. They fled violence. They fled strife in their countries that justifies at least the petitioning of America for refugee status. They were granted the temporary status here to basically this parole program allowed them to live here, to work here, to study here while they waited for their cases to be heard. The Supreme Court decided to permit the Trump administration to revoke the humanitarian parole for over 30,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, as I said. And these are people who were admitted under the parole program during the Biden administration, and they had that temporary legal status in this country. So I wanted to make one point. I'm going to talk to Avila and Shure about this in a moment. But I went into kind of some of the statistics on these this group of immigrants to see, are these people who are prone to violence? Are there violence or reports of violence in their communities? What exactly is this community about? My instincts were based on sort of the DACA kids. I just look at that. Those people who were in this country and have many of the immigrant communities to which Donald Trump has referred, they are actually quite fine citizens if you evaluate them from the standpoint of work, education, etc. They are not these sort of cauldrons of violence the way Donald Trump suggests they are. So my instincts were that this crew was sort of in that same group. So look, they fled a horrible situation in all of these different countries. They've come to America to try to find some high ground. So my instincts were they're probably going to try to, play the straight and narrow, play between the lines, be productive citizens so they can get permanent citizenship here or at least some kind of legal status. All right, so I went into the statistics and I thought they're kind of interesting. Data indicates that these people have actively contributed to the U.S. labor force. As of September of 2024, approximately 250,000 adult recipients of these this parolee status, as it's called, are employed in various sectors, including manufacturing, construction, hospitality, and healthcare. A 2023 survey reported that 96% of this crew possessed at least a high school diploma, 63% having some college education. The majority, 87%, expressed intentions to pursue U.S. citizenship, demonstrating commitment to long-term integration. Crime rates, public safety. Concerns about public safety have been cited in discussions about, again, those affected by this new Supreme Court decision backing up the Trump administration who wants to get rid of all of these people, this whole deportation program. The data suggests that there aren't public safety concerns that really matter. Venezuelan migrants, a significant portion of this group, have low crime rates in the U.S., with the majority having no criminal records. Instances of criminal activity among those in general who are these parolees, as they call them, are not disproportionately high compared to other immigrant groups. And the implications of this program and the implications of this decision on the Supreme Court level and the termination of this program, they're substantial. I mean, you're talking about 500,000 people who have been here legally, residing and contributing to the United States economy. And in my view, it's a humanitarian crisis because they are going to be going back to countries where their life is at minimum threatened and maximally threatened to the point that they may not live to see another year there. And you're getting rid of wildly productive members of American society, which is oddly a society built on a plurality of backgrounds, of immigrants. And so, believe me, I don't think we did have a border problem. I think all agreed on it. But this program that seemed to grant this parolee status to all these people seemed to be working. That's why I share those stats with you. And it's sad to me that the Supreme Court has ruled that the Trump administration can now deport all of these people. But that's the latest decision. It just came down, I believe it was this morning. It came down early this morning, our time on the West Coast. So,
but it's not new that the information that immigrants don't commit crimes to the level of which, Trump is indicated. Jim Avila was on with us, I want to say a month ago, and he had statistics about how, comparatively, citizens commit more crimes than immigrants do. And you've said it in the past that people that are here that just want to work and just want to fly under the radar, they don't want to cause waves or rock the boat, they don't want to attract attention to themselves, they wouldn't go vote in elections and break laws on purpose to get themselves noticed. So it makes sense that that would be the case. And yet we were led down this garden path by Trump, stirring up this fear of immigrants that they're all here to cause trouble, they're here to hurt the women, and they're here to kill the people. And we know that's just not true.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, here. That's exactly right. I mean, it's almost a trope now. The idea somehow that they're violent criminals. They're coming here. They've emptied their. He says it all the time. He said it today again when he was because he's got these. Default positions, sort of these reflexive things that he goes to, rhetorically reflexive, and that's just one of them. But again, there's no. Now, I mean, again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be engaged in some kind of rigorous evaluation of who these people are and whether they should be here. But what I am saying is the reckless and overwhelming, sweeping way in which these people are treated is just unfair to the facts of who they are as citizens. I want to get a quick newscast in from Kim, and then I want to get to Avila and Shure, who will talk about this and a lot more, where, it's been a very busy week this week, and we'll review a lot of it with Avila and Shure as we continue. Smash the like button. I'm coming to you live from a remote location today. I'll tell you the truth. I just felt, having been away last week, I was really sick for a couple of days this week, and I worked anyway. We did the show for you, and a couple of you sent me emails and said, wow, we could tell you were really sick, but really put on some great shows for us, and thank you. And I want you to know that I'm dedicated to this effort, and I, again, felt with the time off last week that I just really wanted to show up for you, and so that's why I'm on remote today, trying to, kind of manage things remotely, and also while we've been on the air this week and I've been under the weather, I continue under the weather a little bit. So thank you, everybody who's tolerated a little bit of the coughing and the whatever it may be. But we are committed to this effort. So all of this is to say, smash the like button. Thank you for being here. Kim's News. Then we talk to Avila and Shure as we continue. It's the Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report is brought to you by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. President Trump says Elon Musk is one of the great business leaders and innovators the world has ever produced. The president giving remarks today from the Oval Office alongside Musk, marking his final day as a special...
So odd, Kim, because he's not given to hyperbole like that.
Oh, really?
It's really quite extraordinary.
Never seen anything like this. He's the best leader in the world. Magnificent. Yeah. Musk is marking his final day as a special government employee. The president praising Musk for his efforts to cut government spending through his work with Doge, saying Musk worked tirelessly. Well, now we know why, because he was all hopped up on ketamine, couldn't sleep, so he was working all around the clock. I don't know.
It's what he was working on tirelessly that bothered me. Yeah.
The Supreme Court is allowing the Trump administration to end the temporary legal status for more than 500,000 immigrants. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem filed an emergency application to end this Biden-era program. The program granted temporary legal status to 532,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela that allowed them to live and to work in the United States. Trump sidestepping a question about Vladimir Putin being a bad guy or a good guy. Trump was asked the question during an Oval Office event today. He said he knows Putin very well, adding they both went through the Russia collusion hoax during his first presidency. He said he's been surprised about things he's seen lately, like Russia firing missiles into Kyiv, Trump calling both Putin and Ukraine's Zelensky stubborn. U.S. embassies and consulates are being ordered to start additional vetting for anyone seeking a visa to travel to Harvard specifically. The State Department issued the order Friday, today. It comes as the Trump administration is launching a number of punitive measures against Harvard for what it says is an atmosphere of anti-Semitism. The vetting includes a complete screening of the person's online presence. It'll serve as a test pilot for the expanded social media screening. Comes after a federal judge blocked the White House from enforcing a ban on international students at Harvard.
I'm so disgusted by the targeting of these academic institutions, targeting of media institutions, targeting of legal institutions, etc. But I really just cannot believe the degree to which they are going back in history to try to bounce a lot of these foreign students. And the foreign students make up a lot of the work done from a research standpoint, from, certainly, as you know, foreign students from an economic standpoint, they pay the full fare at Harvard. Look, I'm not shedding any tears for Harvard. They've got an incredible endowment. They're a wealthy institution. But still, this targeting of these students this way by this administration, it really does feel, if I can use what will be the oft-used phrase, un-American. I would also, though, say one other thing, and that is, I've said it before, and I think vulnerable this way. Guys, if you have kids, tell them social media is fun, but it will stay with you your whole life. The things you do, the weed you smoke, the pranks you play, that you broadcast on your social media because you think they're funny when you're 15, they will stay with you when you're 25 and 35 and 45. I mean, look at Brett Kavanaugh. And Brett Kavanaugh legit had issues in my judgment. I believe that this wasn't a social media related thing. It was a history related thing, a personal history related thing. Had there been social media back when Brett Kavanaugh was growing up, he would not be a Supreme Court justice right now. There's no way. He was, drinking beer like it was his last day on earth. He was reckless. I think he was, it seemed to me, based on the testimony of the one woman who was allowed to testify and the many others who wanted to testify, he may have been involved in some kind of predatorial activity. And so all I'm trying to, predatory activity. So all I would say is this is an example of the government going after all of these students, and they're looking for excuses in their social media history. So I would just be very careful if I had kids about social media, and I'd sit them down and say, guys, I know it's fun, but this stuff will stay with you, and it can haunt you and prevent you from moving ahead in society.
President Trump says China has broken a preliminary trade agreement. The president posting on Truth Social this morning that China violated the agreement. He said, so much for being Mr. Nice Guy. Did anyone ever think he was Mr. Nice Guy? Trump did not elaborate. Stock futures immediately fell following the Friday Morning Post. So we're back at it again with the trade situation. Trump also attacking a prominent legal activist who helped him, or the GOP, pick conservative judges. Leonard Leo is the former chair of the Federalist Society who worked with Trump to choose Supreme Court candidates during his 2016 campaign. On the Truth Social site, yesterday, Trump called Leo a sleazebag who probably hates America. The attack came after the U.S. Court of International Trade struck down Trump tariffs. Trump wrote he was so disappointed in the Federalist Society because of the bad advice they gave him. Leo responded that he was grateful for Trump helping transform the federal courts.
Let me listen. Leonard Leo is Donald Trump's best friend. He doesn't, Donald Trump is pissed off about it right now because he got this ruling on the tariffs. But Leonard Leo, as Kim has just noted, gave him the list of Supreme Court justices. Not just Supreme Court, though. These federal judicial appointments, they all come out of Leonard Leo and the Federalist Society. Leonard Leo is arguably one of the most powerful men in America. He's the one who reshaped America because it's being reshaped through the courts. And so even there's a kind of irony when he's thanking Donald Trump for reshaping America. He knows Leonard Leo's a really smart guy, a really dastardly, devious, bad, smart guy. And he knows that he's the one who's reshaping America through the judicial system. And all those justices, they came through the Federalist Society and the newly emboldened Federalist Society because they got $1 billion grant, as you'll remember. They got $1 billion donation recently. It was in the last few years. So they are able to not only get these judges appointed, but in these judicial races, they're able to participate with a lot of money. So they're able to enter into political races in ways that they weren't prior. All of this is to say Leonard Leo is Trump's best friend. Trump, in this moment, in this flash of anger, doesn't realize it or just is lashing out. But without Leonard Leo, I think Donald Trump would be in a lot of trouble.
Immigration agents are reportedly staking out immigration courts in Southern California. ICE agents recently arrested 4 people after they walked out of a downtown Los Angeles immigration courtroom. The Orange County Register reports more than 10 people, including children, were detained by ICE agents outside of the immigration courthouse in Santa Ana. A Department of Homeland Security statement says Secretary Kristi Noem is reversing the Biden administration's catch and release policy that allowed millions of unvetted illegal immigrants, their words, to be let loose on American streets. Immigration advocates say the practice is just causing fear, resulting in people being afraid to go to court. Officials in Kentucky say one person is dead after a tornado hit the central part of the state this morning. It happened in Washington County, Kentucky, about 65 miles southeast of Louisville. That tornado caused heavy damage and injured several people in that area. Big afternoon for Trump, set to hold a rally in Pittsburgh. He'll speak at the U.S. Steel Corporation about the partnership with Nippon Steel after months of negotiations. Trump praising the deal as one that would effectively merge the 2 major steel producers while keeping the United States steel American-owned and operated. Some Democratic lawmakers here in California are questioning oversight by the state concerning the oil and gas industry. Questions raised during a legislative hearing that the California Air Resources Board was not considering the impact of cleaner energy initiatives on consumers and workers. This after the looming closure was announced of 2 state oil refineries. Phillips 66 will close its Southern California refinery by October. Valero in the San Francisco Bay Area shutting down its Benicia refinery next year. The closures would affect about 20% of the state's oil refining capacity. So there's questions there.
Wow. Yeah.
Archaeologists have discovered the remains of a 3,000-year-old Mayan city in northern Guatemala. The city has pyramids and monuments that indicated it was an important ceremonial site, that according to the country's culture ministry. They're calling the city Los Abuelos, Spanish for the grandparents. The city, which covers about 6 square miles, was discovered by Guatemalan and Slovak archaeologists in a little explored area of that country. Wow. And I know Michael Shure is going to care about this, but the Stanley Cup final is officially set. The Oilers will be going back to the Cup final after beating the Dallas Stars in Game 5 of the Western Conference Final. Florida making its third straight trip to the Stanley Cup final, seeking its second straight championship. This marks the 12th rematch in the Stanley Cup final since the NHL expanded from the original 6. More with Michael Shure.
It's wild, by the way, that Florida has a team that's an ice hockey team that's going to Stanley Cup playoffs.
What? Taylor Swift is buying
the rich history of ice hockey in the state of Florida. Yeah.
Taylor Swift is buying the master recordings to her first 6 albums. The purchase gives Swift the rights to everything from her albums, music videos, concert specials during that period, to artwork and typography, all of which was off limits to her for the last 6 years. While no price tag will be publicly listed, Swift has characterized the sale as exceptionally fair and reasonable. So now she owns her first 6 albums yet again. And this report is sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Oh, the coffee. Oh, the tea. Oh, it's so good. It's organic. It's sourced from women-owned farms. The products are amazing. The quality is high, and you can get a special deal. Check out CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. There are tasting notes there that'll let you know exactly what it is that will be coming to your porch. And then make sure when you get to the checkout that you use our special exclusive Mark Thompson Show code, MarkT, no spaces, and that'll get you 10% off.
I have a kind of an announcement too.
Oh, please.
I was just going to, you made me think of it with the discount code. If you have family members who would also be interested in great coffee, I mean, extraordinary coffee, extraordinary tea, that, as Kim has said, is curated and produced with the kind of care and the virtuosity that they produce this coffee and tea and spices with Coachella Valley Coffee, you can share our discount code, MarkT. I know you're thinking, well, they're not really viewers or listeners of the show. I feel weird about it. It's okay. You can share it. MarkT. If you know them and they're friends of yours, then they're friends of ours. And you can share the discount code, MarkT, at checkout for 10% off.
And Jane O says Coachella Valley Coffee makes a wonderful gift. She's right. I slip it in Christmas stockings. I'll put it in birthday bags. Absolutely. It makes a great gift.
It's funny you say that. I just also used it as a gift. It was 2 weeks ago. 10 days ago. It went over really well. Yeah.
Perhaps someday Michael Shure will have a mug to put his Coachella Valley tea into.
Not if I have anything to say about it, he won't.
I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Feels great, baby.
Let me kick down the door and talk to my cheap sons and daughters.
No context will suffice to explain the hurt and anguish caused by my words. I apologize to all who have been hurt.
I stand corrected. I misspoke. My words upset so many people.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
God bless America. The end.
There's never been anything like this. Do I hit it long? Is Trump strong? Huh?
Who is having that conversation?
It's fantastic.
That's not fake. That's real.
The science is ridiculous.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
Listen to me. I don't want to hear you.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
There is no defense for my conduct. It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Don't ever use that word.
You get nothing.
What's a guilty pleasure you have?
seriously, what the?
Right on, everybody. Thank you for being here. We are on remote today, but Kim, Albert, all of us with you live every day, Monday through Friday. It's 11 to 1 on the West Coast, 2 to 4 on the East Coast, and wherever you check us out. A lot of people watch the show, of course, in delay. We're happy that you can join us. Always happy for your reactions, for your comments. Our address is themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com is our email. Friday Fabulous Florida still to come. We'll do it after our conversation with two guys who really know the political scene so well. This guy has forgotten more about politics than most of us will ever even know. He is the great Michael Shure, everyone. How about it from Michael? He generously fills in on this show. And I must say, and I'll bring on Jim in a second, but I must say that I was in the extreme wilderness of Alaska, barely able to get a cell signal last week. And when you had Patrick McEnroe on, I was running around like looking for I've got like barely one bar, and I was desperate to see it. So a lot of it I watched in delay, but the stuff I saw was just so, it was a gift from God to get him on this show. So thank you so much for the great Patrick McEnroe.
He had a good time. I think
it was the best, man. Really the best. Sincerely, I was over the moon. And now this guy, of course, an award-winning journalist, the Murrow Award, the Emmy Award, the Peabody Award, the former White House correspondent for ABC. He joins us now, as he does so generously every week. How about it for Jim Avila? Jim, thank you.
Good morning, Mark. And I just want to say to Michael, the NHL needs to invent a Mason-Dixon line.
What? That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Where there are no hockey teams south of the Mason-Dixon line. It is ridiculous.
That's absurd that you say that. I mean, it's not. The sport isn't about where you play. First of all, there are so many Northerners, so many Midwesterners who go and move to Florida and to California, by the way. The second highest expat Canadian population in America to California is Florida, and not by much. It's a sport that what we're proving with hockey doing so well in Florida, and the Tampa Bay Lightning made the finals 3 straight years and won the cup twice, and now this is 3 straight years for the Panthers. The game supersedes the geography. Everybody loves hockey, and if you just start going and seeing it, people will come. If you build it.
How long do I have to listen to this? Is this going to go on for a while?
Kim, I'm sure Kim or Albert.
Everybody loves hockey. I love that line.
Yeah. I mean, I was in Chicago for 30 years. The Blackhawks are an institution. Yet, right. Yes, go watch the Blackhawks. They are amazing.
People skate in Chicago.
Yes.
I mean, the idea it's cold.
By the way, the Blackhawks suck. The Rangers,
they suck this year, yeah.
The Rangers didn't make the playoffs. The Bruins didn't make the playoffs.
Where do the kids skate in Florida, Michael Shure? Is there a lot of ice hockey in Florida?
First of all, they're going to be very soon. They're going to be NHLers. Shane Gostisbehere, who plays for the Carolina Panthers, who just lost to the Panthers, Carolina Hurricanes, who just lost to the Panthers. He is a product of the Junior Panthers program in South Florida. Austin Matthews, one of the great goal scorers from Arizona. You have players, Dustin Wolf, the goalie for Calgary, from Los Angeles. This is a sport that is now starting to see players from all over the country.
My counter to that point is baseball is played all over.
Right.
Hockey is not.
But it isn't. But you're wrong about that. Baseball is played in more places, right? It's cheaper to have a baseball field than it is to have a hockey rink. But
that's true.
There is hockey all over the country now. And what Gary Bettman, who I don't really like, he's the commissioner of the National Hockey League. What he did that's smart is he built rinks and he brought the game to places where it wasn't to increase their audience. And guess what? It worked. There are teams in Seattle, in Utah. There are teams in Dallas.
Those make sense. Dallas maybe not, but
Dallas to you doesn't make sense. But there are a lot of people playing hockey there. My son played hockey and went to tournaments in Dallas, and there are 6 rinks that we had to drive between with 3 or 4
pads. White flag. Okay,
Yeah.
wait, fine.
That's what we're looking for.
Avila's tapping out on this.
Okay, so now, Mark, to the mug. To the mug.
Last thing, we're talking about this because the Stanley Cup playoffs again have Florida, the Florida team in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and we're just speaking about the fact that Florida is not a state you associate with. With ice hockey. But you've made with ice. But you've made. I think he makes the point, and you can see Avila. He makes the point quite passionately. And Michael feels very strongly about this. This isn't just some kind of passing thing for him. He lives and breathes this hockey.
God bless him.
Yeah. So, a note to Albert: cut this hockey stuff and the conversation out of this video when you pop it later. All right. Now, thanks for moving that mic in. I was wondering where Michael's mic
I was on the other mic, and I plugged this one in. It should be.
Thank you. Good. Okay, so now we begin. Michael Shure and Jim Avila. A busy week, and I want to get to the latest Supreme Court decision that came down just this morning on these. They call them parolees. These people who are here from Haiti, from Nicaragua, from Venezuela. They came here into the Biden administration and were given a legal protection status for a time. I was running down the statistics on this community. It's more than 500,000 people, and they're really a productive community. That is to say, this isn't a community that's ripe with violence. The statistics on their education, quite impressive. I mean, I think it runs probably ahead of what you'd find statistically on the American population in terms of education. But also, they are overwhelmingly employed. And again, my instincts were like this sort of falls into the DACA category, that this is a really productive community that is being victimized by the rhetoric of these horrible immigrants. They come here, it's a community ripe with violence, they are taking our jobs, etc. And now, of course, the Trump administration has targeted them for deportation. And the SCOTUS decision this morning is that the Trump administration is within its rights to deport these people. I wonder if you can give me a moment on this community and on this strategy, which seems to divert substantially from the strategy that was articulated at the beginning of this administration, which was we're going to go after violent offenders first. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, first of all, I shouldn't say we shouldn't say it was a decision, right? They decided to sort of wait and let the appeals courts let it work its way through up to the Supreme Court. But I mean, this is what we're seeing now, and in a sense, if you're a political junkie and you take yourself out of the partisan politics that we've been watching, this is a time like no other, in that we're seeing the courts at work more than we're seeing the Congress at work, and more that we're seeing, so it is, in an objective way, a fairly interesting, and I don't know that exciting is the kind of word I would use, but certainly compelling process that we're seeing America go through right now, because you have an administration here that is doing things that are so offensive to so many people, and you're seeing if that can work in the courts, and it's working its way through the courts, and the courts are the great defense against this. But no defense is not porous, and no defense doesn't have its legal background, so that the Supreme Court is saying, well, I'm not so sure about this right now. We're not going to do what the people that are against the administration want to do. We're going to kowtow the administration, but we want to see this again before the appeals court, and if the appeals court makes a ruling, then we'll entertain that perhaps. But these emergency orders are a little different.
Well, these are brown and black people, Michael. If they're white South Africans, they come right in.
Right, they can come. No, I'm not getting to the substance of it. Where you're absolutely right.
And I'm going to get to the substance of it now, because it's very important.
But I don't want to make it seem like I don't think that's important. I'm just saying this is fascinating stuff, and it's also not an absolute ruling.
Well, the problem is, so these are asylum seekers. These are people who have had problems in their home country, and Venezuela was huge riots in the streets, and Maduro was killing people, and so the Biden administration said, you have special status, you can come in. Haiti was taken over by gangs, and the people there in Haiti were persecuted and killed. And so we allowed them to come in with less paperwork. and so they're in by permission, by special permission from the government, and now that's being ripped away from them because they're brown or black, in my opinion, and that we don't want those folks in here. They eat cats and dogs. It's just silly what they have done, and it's a shame because this country is supposed to be a haven for um, a haven for the downtrodden. That's what that big statue is in the New York Harbor, and we've got a guy who has no respect for the immigrant. And if we look into who the immigrants are, at one point, it was the Irish. At one point, it was the Italians. These were people who came in and built this country. The Italians with their stonemasons. These people have built us, and now we're rejecting them. Kim is right in that, in repeating that study, in that the amount of people who commit crimes in this country who are immigrants is far less than the ones who commit crimes who are native born. And, there's no respect for those statistics. There's no respect for anything. I mean, this business that you were talking about, Mark, and I'm sorry to jump all over, but I had the pleasure of listening for a while. And this business of disrespect for this for science of any kind. What is it about science that bothers these folks so much? It bothers MAGA so much. They just don't get it. They want to tear down this country, not make it great again. We're great again. We're great because we've allowed these immigrants in to help build our country, help build our science programs, help go to Harvard and Yale and all these other places, and now they're ripping that all away. It makes no sense.
Well, of course, that's true. And the science programs, by the way, just because you mentioned, are populated in large measure by many of those immigrants who come here to study because of the freedoms and because of the subsidies associated with a lot of these science programs. I mean, it started
And many of them stay and become, our doctors. I mean, go into freaking UCSD, see who's there treating you.
Well, also the guys and listeners, everybody, the whole notion of this, that they are focusing on the errors that may happen, or the people, and I shouldn't say errors, the people that are not fleeing legitimately gangs and those sorts of things. And I remember they used to do that with Social Security. You'd find someone who was abusing the Social Security system. Well, you don't blow up the whole system because someone's abusing it. You punish that person. And that's what these courts are in great measure about, making sure that there is legitimate reason and hearing the cases. And that's why they're parolees, so they can come back.
And that's why they're supposed to be due process.
And that's why they're exactly. That's why they're supposed to be. I did a series in Central America covering immigration back in 2021, I guess. So Biden had just taken office, and Harris was down in Guatemala, and we sat down with some gangsters. We sat down with people who had to have their faces blurred, talking to us about what they would do to women and how they would extort people. So the people would go out and make whatever pittance they would make in the fields or in factories, come back, and there'd be somebody waiting for them to take their money from them by force. And so this is real, and it's legitimate, and it's coming not just from the people who are complaining about it. It was to us, to our cameras, it was admitted that that's what they do. That's how they make their living, and that's how they control villages and towns. It's not everyone, and not everyone at the border is fleeing that, right? They're looking for opportunity, and they're using that as an excuse. But it's real, and all the things you said. I know, Jim, you were about to say, go to a doctor and see who treats you. It's somebody from someplace else in many, many cases.
The border is much different than what we're talking about here.
It is, but it's about these people who are here as parolees, though. It's the same.
I'm not arguing with your point. I'm just saying, I'm amplifying the fact that the border is totally different from these asylum seekers who come through getting visas in special programs, and then they're there.
Yeah.
And instead of and Biden, just before he left. Now I know that I'm not going to defend the fact that he was not that he let too many people in. Okay, that he just opened the borders. There should be programs for agriculture that are more widespread. There should be programs for medicine and for science, and there were programs, and should be programs for folks who are escaping persecution, and all those things were in place. And the border crossings went way down under Biden, under the last year of Biden, because he finally woke up, or somebody woke up. Not sure he ever woke up, but
By the way,
anyway,
very, very few people would agree that he woke up at the end of his term.
Yeah, somebody did, but it wasn't him.
Yeah.
And that those things are so important to realize the differential, and they don't. They're all criminals. They're all bad people. They came here to rape your daughters, and that's bullshit. It just is bullshit.
Mark, you're muted. Guy complains about my mic.
Yeah, I just today, so it's all a little bit different. I
He's
wanted
sick.
to get clarity, though, on something that you said, Michael, because you had mentioned that the Supreme Court didn't really make a decision. They said let the lower courts decide. I would just take issue in the sense that they lifted the lower court order. The lower court order was to keep the humanitarian parole protections in place, and the Supreme Court said no.
Right. The lower, but they're saying also that it needs to go to a court before it goes to the Supreme Court.
Oh,
so it wasn't talking about the Constitution. There was actually nobody. There was no signature to this, this order.
No, that's right. That's right. There was no. They don't explain their reasoning. They don't do anything. It was an emergency decision. That's right.
Yeah.
But there may be a process by which the rest of these people can be deported or will be deported. But that process has now been permitted. That is to say, they have lifted the protections on those parolees such that can go on.
Oh no,
right?
it's not good news by any means, but there's no permanence to it necessarily because they're yeah.
Now, quickly to the tariffs. The tariffs have. It was a wild day. Yeah, where the Mark's volume is too low. Hang on a second, because I am on remote. Albert, can you do something about my volume? Can I do something about my volume? Can anyone do?
I'm on it.
Oh, you're on it. Okay, thank you. The tariff situation it was a day of true bizarre rulings, only in the sense that you had two courts essentially saying the president wasn't within his constitutional boundaries in raising these tariffs, in applying these tariffs, in enforcing these tariffs. And then you had another federal court in the 11th hour yesterday saying, actually, these tariffs can stand. That for the moment anyway, and this to the point that maybe this is a temporary situation, for the moment, these tariffs will be permitted because the appeals court essentially trumped, if you pardon the expression, the two other courts that were involved in that decision.
And now it's got to go to the Supreme Court. So, the problem with all that, Mark, as you know, and Michael knows, is that it's the instability, and businesses do not like instability. They do not like trying to guess what's going to be happening. They have to order 3 months or 2 months in advance, and they can't because it changes every day. And that's just terrible for our economy, and we're not doing well.
It's interesting that Wall Street does sort of shrug about this stuff now, Michael. It's as though they kind of feel as though the tariff thing is, when I say the tariff thing, I mean the inability to make a final decision on tariffs, what they will be, is sort of baked into the future. Jim's right, of course, that you need to plan out. So there's I haven't heard any CEO or leader of business who is for the kind of policy that changes by the hour. But by the same token, it doesn't seem like, if you watch Wall Street, like it seems as though they've become quickly accustomed to this.
Yeah, they have, and of course they know more about how to bake these things in than certainly than I do, and it's a part of how, I guess when you learn the ways of banking, you bake those things in automatically. The prices, the futures prices, right? You're betting on that, and in a sense, I guess they've adjusted to the way these tariffs are. That reporter who asked the question about Taco Tuesday, right? And Trump, the Trump chickening out. While it was a funny question and it gave us some sound bites, that's sort of the truth. That people don't really believe that this is going to go all the way. And then he posts something on Truth Social that makes people think differently. But Wall Street knows better that it's going to get reversed in some way in a day or two. But what Jim was saying is true, is the people that run businesses and small businesses, they don't know how to behave. They don't know how to make their businesses react to these tariffs. And then, of course, then China says Trump says China's breaking a tariff truce today on Truth Social, saying that they've totally violated their agreement. So much for being Mr. Nice Guy, he said. But China's saying this is ridiculous anyway. Like, we're not going to do the truce because you keep changing every day. We don't know what's coming at us. So there's a lot of bewilderment, both on Wall Street, small businesses, and even on our allies and our adversaries.
One of the things that is overwhelmingly evident is the corruption of this administration. The sale of everything from pardons to tariff policy. It's an extraordinary thing to
coins, right? To Bitcoin, to
right. Well, that's all part of an act. That's just
yeah.
access, right? Yeah,
Right.
That's access to the president. So, and the meme coins, I'm glad you mentioned it, because the meme coins, just to remind everyone, they have no intrinsic value whatsoever. So that we could have a special Michael Shure, Jim Avila, Mark Thompson coin, and we could issue 100 of them. And if there were 200 people who wanted to buy the coin would go up in value. But there's no other way in which that coin can be used. It's a collectible. Right. And so the meme coin, which is just that which I've described, has been the source of tremendous income for this president. He had the dinner with all the cryptocurrency dudes, the leading purchasers of that coin. But beyond that, he has managed to wrestle from Vietnam the green light on his resort there. They've waived all of the environmental discussions around it. They are displacing a bunch of residents in the area of Vietnam where that resort will go in. That was all in immediate response to the 46% tariff that they'd placed on Vietnamese goods. So this, in addition to all the other ways that he's been moneyed, the Jeff Bezos $28 million for Melania Trump in that documentary, that money goes right to her. This Trump crew is open for business in a way I've never seen before. But here's my question. Why doesn't that land with the American public in a stronger way? My sense is that the electorate feels as though, all politicians are corrupt. It's kind of what Mike Johnson said. At least he's doing it out in front. And because he's doing it, in plain sight, it couldn't be that bad. Jim Avila?
Well, I love my brother. My brother gave me a kidney. But he lives in Texas. And what he always tells me when I bring up Trump is all politicians are the same. And that they all lie, and they all cheat, and they're all corrupt. The problem, what he doesn't see, and what MAGAs don't see, and the rest of the public don't see, is that this is to a scale that has never been done. It's the scale of what's happening. He has come in here, he just got $1 billion plane. What is that? It doesn't make any sense. And I don't know what we're going to do about it unless we vote him out. And I think it's too early. I've said this, I think I said this last week. It's too early to pick an issue like that and, the corruption, and make the huge deal out of it. It is a huge deal, but there's no elections that are on right now that are really going to hurt him. We need to organize. We need to do what Bernie Sanders and AOC are doing, which is pointing this out to the public and keeping it hot, or warm. But in the end, it's going to have to be closer to the election, I think.
But and further to that, it's you have somebody who is, a lot of the politicians, and I disagree with your brother, and I'll love him forever for giving you a kidney, so I won't disagree with him that much. But
he's wrong. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, that he's wrong, and that not, first of all, not all politicians are corrupt, and the scale of this is like something we've never seen before. We only hear about the corrupt ones, and many of them do. They all have egos, which doesn't mean they're corrupt. But, you surround yourself with politicians, you're going to have some public servants at the dinner table and people who are not necessarily corrupt. That said, when you look at what Trump is doing, the really irksome thing about it is that he doesn't care. And so he's not bothered by the criticism of his own corruption, right?
He's lived in the corruption. He was a failure as a businessman.
Yeah,
and this is just continuing on a big scale,
right? And so he does it in such a brazen way in the Oval Office, which we've never seen. We've seen mayors do it. We've seen senators and congressmen and people that are taking.
God, have you seen the Oval Office, Michael?
Yeah.
It's just
yeah.
I used to go in there. I'm sure you've been in there. I used to go in there, and there was a sense of respect. There was a sense of, this is our country. When I walked into the White House every day, down the where the what they call Pebble Beach, where the broadcasters broadcast from, and
where I was
in,
standing.
and
you were in the Oval Office,
and then into the the press briefing room. There's this kid from East LA, and the amount of respect that I gave it, it would bring tears. And this guy is just, he's just stomping all over it, and it's just terrible. It's just terrible what he's done. The gold fixtures. I used to hate to stay at the Trump Hotel. ABC had a deal, so when you flew into New York, and it was relatively close, you'd stay at the Trump Hotel. Fortunately, when he became a politician, they stopped that deal. But it was bad then, and it's terrible now. Every fixture was gold. The toilet was gold. It was terrible.
Yeah. And not only that, he also now uses it to dress down world leaders. We've never seen that before. We've seen him with We've seen presidents with adversaries saying, we have our disagreements, but we're going to be working the next day or so to iron some of them out. You don't see
I thought the South African guy was very good.
Yeah, he was. He was very good.
I wish I had a plane to give you. And he was defending his country and defending it well, and kind of shut Trump up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought when he was talking to Zelensky, and then Vance chimed in, and then a reporter from that One America News asks a question about Vance's dress. Well, Elon Musk wears baseball
Zelensky's dress.
Yeah, Zelensky's dress, and Elon Musk wears baseball caps and sweatsuits. It's all crazy. It's just and so not only.
I mean, we should wear something respectful when you go into the White House. Even our camera people. Right. They had a dress code to wear suit and tie,
right?
And they're usually the grungiest people on earth, but they were respectful.
Yeah,
there is a stunning. I've only been to the White House once, or maybe twice, but there is a stunning sense of the White House institution and history that is sobering when you go there, and they have truly dry cleaned the place of that. I mean, they are open for business. As Jim says, it's a gilded house now, and there's a system of patronage well in place. I'd suggest the tariffs reinforce that system of patronage. I mentioned the Vietnam thing. It goes through the Middle Eastern countries and beyond. So the business of the presidency has changed radically and has been corrupted radically. I guess what I was getting at, and you guys have both remarked on it.
From a guy from Queens.
This is right, exactly. For a guy from Queens who talks about his success in real estate, and of course he was gifted a huge. He's really never made money with a successful business until the presidency. The presidency has given him the successful business that he always wanted.
Right. As someone once said, who loses money on a casino?
Right. No, exactly. You know, the multiple bankruptcies, and he was a laughingstock in New York. You know this, Michael and Jim. I mean, he was really. It's one of the reasons that people didn't take Donald Trump seriously as a political threat, because he was just such a profound failure and
he was a
wannabe.
playboy.
Yes,
playing with his dad's money, you know,
and losing his dad's money.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's the old phrase, you know.
Accepted, yep.
Born on third base and, you know, thinks he's hit a triple. So, but now he's legitimately rich because the American people have allowed him to corrupt the office in the way that he has. But I think it's interesting that this corruption doesn't land yet. And we'll see to what extent. I mean, the thing that people care about probably is mostly their pocketbook. And then secondarily, this immigration issue has been a winner for him. The more it stays in the news, and the more and he defaults to it, you know, it's a rhetorical default constantly. These immigrants, the open borders. When I got here, the borders were open. Now they're closed. This is a winner for him. It lands cleanly. So I don't know that the corruption moves the meter at all, sadly.
Unfortunately, what we heard during the elections, especially during 2016 from the general public, was, he's a fraudulent business person. He's a rich guy, and I want to be a rich guy. And how he got to be rich doesn't matter.
Right.
And you know, I want to be like him. And that you know, that was unfortunate. And I think a lot of people in polling said that they were voting for him because this is America, and America is in my grasp. I can get to it. And you know, that's unfortunate that they don't believe they have to get to it in a legitimate way. You know, I lost a lot of faith and reputation on the fact that he won that election. I had so much faith in the American people, and maybe it'll come back in the next election in 2028. But so far, it hasn't.
It's interesting that you mentioned this. And here, MJ Daniel says, too many Americans do not care unless it hurts them personally. I mean, there is some truth to that. And look,
but it is hurting them personally.
Yeah. No,
look at your 401k.
Sure.
Yeah.
But this speaks to how the country has changed. You know, I learned, and we all learned a lot about the American people in the last presidential election. The degree to which young men came out and voted for Trump. And you know, Jim, you went down sort of the demographic breakdowns that were surprising, you know, that many in the black community voted for Trump. Many in the Latino community voted for Trump. It was an odd kind of sparking of interest and of activism from what was a clearly kind of a wannabe strongman. He came across...
And it was bad memories. They had terrible memory. They thought that the economy under Trump was good. It wasn't.
It was revisionist, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They believe the lies.
Yeah. And he says them over and over and over again. And he's proved that axiom to be true, is that if you say it over and over and over again, a good many people will believe it.
Right. I don't know, and I know that we go through. There they are. I mean, that's the kind of the MAGA bro setup. That's I think that's Dana White in the foreground for those listening, and that may this is
the Nelk Boys
the kind of,
podcast. That's them. Right there.
Oh, is that there it is, and going on those podcasts was good business for Trump. I don't know that he needed it, but it sure didn't hurt, and in a close election. To show up on those podcasts really matter. I also think that the Democrats fumble the ball a bit. I mean, joy and hope.
They do, but there's no way. I mean, I think what Jim's saying is that even Democrats fumbling the ball, the worst thing that the Democrats did should still have made it so that Donald Trump isn't elected, is what I'm saying.
I'm sorry, we have Joe Biden to blame for that. I'm on the...
Well, Jim, I love you, and I don't know. There's nothing that proved to me in looking at the election afterward that any other candidate could have beaten Trump with the dynamics that had been set up, and we'll never know that.
If he would have dropped out, they would have clobbered him. Somebody would have clobbered him. Gavin Newsom would have clobbered him.
I don't know that. I just don't know that. And
I think so. We
I
disagree.
would love to think that, but and I don't, we just won't know. But
he only got 49% of the vote.
The aggravating part about this is that what he does doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter to people that are elected to the Senate and to Congress, and that people that are so afraid of their own constituents. That to me is what, the people who are elected to lower offices not pushing back against this corruption. They're talking about, we have to have ethics committee for the Supreme Court. We have to have an ethics committee for our own House of Representatives and Senate. But where's the ethics committee for the White House, right? I mean, where does somebody look at that? And that to me is a really frustrating. I think this is a real.
It used to be a GAO, but they don't do that anymore.
They don't do it anymore. And Trump says whatever the GAO is saying doesn't matter, right? I mean, the Government Accounting Office, he refutes what they say all the time, right? And so there has to be a way of pushing back against that, and that the people didn't do it is one thing, but the fact that the Congress hasn't done it and people in his own party haven't done it.
Yeah, the only way to do it, Michael, I think you probably agree, is through an election.
Right.
And hopefully the destruction of the economy and the cruelty of immigration deportation we'll see a better end. I'm not like Mark. I've not totally signed off on the American people, but I'm pretty close to getting to where Mark is. So.
Well, it's sadly, I think there's more evidence every day for my grim outlook on the American people. Guys, we got to wrap. You guys are both so generous with your time. I've really enjoyed this. Michael, thank you again. Thanks for filling in occasionally here, and you were really great in the days you put together, man. Great guests and great conversation. And Jim, you're so wonderful. Even as you endure health challenges and all the rest, you always show up for us, and I just love you to death. Thank you so much, pal.
Let me just say, go Cubs. Okay, look, they're ahead 4-0. They're in first place. They have a guy who's going to be an MVP and has 3 names that I can only remember 2 of.
I can't believe there's baseball in Chicago. That's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, right.
You go. Listen, aren't you late for your hockey game? All right. Thank you, guys. Michael Shure and Jim Avila. See you soon. Bye, guys. Thank you. Wow, we're super late. I didn't realize how late we were.
Soul. The Mark Thompson Show.
I mean, somebody throw me whoever's producing this show has no idea what they're doing.
It was a good conversation. I felt like I was at lunch with you guys, just hanging out, listening to you guys, banter about hockey and baseball, and disagreeing about who could have won the presidency. Sure. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, really
I
good.
love those
Thanks
guys.
Everybody for chiming in along the way. I do think that I had to put somebody in time out during that time.
Oh, you did?
Because he was really getting a little out of line. So I just put him in time out, though. That's a yellow card, so you're not red carded from the show, but got to behave. I've got Michael Snyder coming up.
I just saw him pop in.
Just saw the nickname for Caroline Levitt is Taco Bell. MJ Daniel said. That's funny. I also want to acknowledge a few people, and then what are we going to do on Florida? Don't I need I need a palate cleanser? Albert? Help me. What should I do?
We have one of the most sent stories in. I have video.
Okay.
We could just watch the video and get right to Snyder if you want.
Okay, cool. That's what we'll do. Before we do that, I want to recognize who do I want to recognize? Rev P says a lot of Americans are checked out. They have been convinced that it's bad, and everyone in this everyone is this bad. So it's all noise to them until one day when they feel the pain, but they'll just blame the Dems that's a pessimistic but maybe realistic view of things from the Rev. Meg Brewer with $86.47. I did not just find those numbers on my keyboard. I sought them out. Love the show and the guests. 86.47 is what she's saying. Bravo, Meg. Thank you for that. Wow, big super chat. Appreciate
Watch
that.
Watch out, Meg. That'll
Brewer.
get you investigated by the Secret Service.
Yeah, make sure that no guys in dark suits come.
Yeah.
If they're talking into their sleeves, don't open the door.
Thanks,
Vivian
Meg.
El Shawa, thank you for the $10 super chat and super sticker, Viv. You are awesome. Appreciate that. And also Luis, 48 seconds of sport for Michael. If Edmonton wins the cup, will Trump invite them to the White House? Oh, and then proceed to annex them by executive order? That is a great question.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe I didn't. We'll ask him for next week, Louise. Remind me. That's right. Wow. That would be awkward. Edmonton at the White House, Albert. Yeah.
It is a rematch, so if anybody wants to watch, there's an Amazon series that covered last year's playoffs, and then they showed the defeat and the victory of both of these same teams, and now in poetic fashion, they're both back in the Stanley Cup final. So
wow, it is literary.
And Connor McDavid is the Michael Jordan of hockey right now, and he was very upset, and that's all recorded, and you could watch that from last year. So he said he was going to come back, and he made it back. So
Albert, scary good knowledge on hockey. Spencer Jaffe with a $2 super chat, super sticker. Thank you so much, Spencer. You're always a great supporter of the show. Thanks to everybody who finds us through Patreon and PayPal. There are live links to both underneath all these videos. You guys are great. I gave you guys, a couple of you on PayPal, a shout out earlier in the week. And we'll do more next week. But what we do at the end of every month is we increase the number of names, or alter and augment the number of names, so that it includes all of you who are contributors on PayPal and Patreon. And I also wanted to just especially, and then I will get to Florida, we'll do it quickly, and I'll get to Snyder. I wanted to quickly acknowledge those who have sent checks to the show. I have received checks, and I've received lovely notes along the way. I've received them and shared a few of them earlier in the week. I'll share more, but I just wanted to thank you all, because I know that there are a lot of old schoolers who go, hey man, I'm not about the, I don't want to, about the internet or whatever. I want to just give you some old-fashioned love. And so that if you want to be one of those people, it's the Mark Thompson Show at gmail.com. Send to that email, and I will send you back the address. It is, and then you can send a check if you want to contribute that way. All right, Albert, what are we doing? We'll do a quick Florida. It'll be a palate cleanser. Then we'll get to Michael Snyder. Okay, This is I will follow your lead, Albert. We're taking Florida, and we're going to reduce it to the most emailed story to us. Is that it?
Yes, just the one story, no multiples, nothing to vote on, just the video. Michael Snyder's waiting, so we'll get
okay,
right
so this was the most emailed story, but we will give you the open and close to the great Friday Fabulous Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
All right, Albert, share with us the magic. A deadly deputy-involved shooting in Florida. But the
Continue
madness...
to follow a series of strange events that ended with Polk County deputies shooting and killing a man this morning in Lakeland. Prior to the shooting, the man was seen swimming in a lake with alligators and was bitten on the arm. After getting out of the water, he grabbed some garden shears and tried to break into a vehicle. After deputies tased him, they say he got into one of their vehicles and tried to get a gun, which is when deputies shot and killed him. Fox 13's Carla Byron heard from the sheriff and from neighbors.
Shortly before 6 a.m., an employee at the racetrack on South Florida Avenue in Lakeland called 911 about 42-year-old Timothy Schultz, who they say was acting bizarre. Unable to locate him right away, deputies then got a call around 8 a.m. about a man in a lake behind the Christina Hammock neighborhood. Polk County deputies say the suspect swam in an alligator-infested lake behind the cul-de-sac. He was even bitten by one of the reptiles, and he still kept going.
Another witness tried to talk to him, and he said the guy growled at me, so I ran in the house and locked the door.
Deputies arrived just when they say Schultz was using a brick to try and break into a truck. Then they say he attacked them with garden shears. Deputies tried to tase him and to de-escalate the situation, but Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd says Schultz climbed into one of their patrol vehicles and tried to grab their rifle or shotgun.
I heard the gunshots, and I immediately jumped out of bed, and when I opened the garage door, I saw the two deputies pulling the suspect from the car and onto the pavement.
He was shot multiple times and did not survive.
Oh, they were just doing their job and defending themselves. It was quite a traumatic event. I've been to some in my career in the past, and this one pretty well tops it.
Deputies believe Schultz was likely on meth at the time of the incident.
The fact that he was bitten by an alligator significantly and still continued his rampage is shocking. But if you're on enough meth, then the person you see is not the person that's attacking.
In Polk County, Carla Byron, Fox 13 News.
I have to say that story has it all. I mean, I don't mean that
Yes,
it was a
everything.
serious situation, but that
What?
story truly is every great awful thing about Florida right there, right? You have the
Meth.
alligator, you have the meth, you
Yep.
have the guy, you have him going for the cops and their
The garden
weapons.
shears. There's like some sort of weapon in there. I don't know how that was accessible.
The garden shears.
Yeah, the garden shears.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. That was just a perfect
Crazy.
story for Florida. Albert, well done. Thanks to everyone who emailed us that story. That's Friday Fabulous Florida for today.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
Wow. All right. So without any further delay, we give you a little Florida as a palate cleanser to all the politics. It's a big day, and we are on remote today. Happy to join you remotely and finish up the show with our old pal, the guy who knows film, music, subtitled movies, obscure French, Korean films, and then when it comes to the Marvel universe, the DC universe, all of the, he's amazing. I don't know how he does it. He comes and goes on a rainbow. He is the great Culture Blaster, Michael Snyder. Michael, welcome, sir. How are you?
Thank you. I am so glad you're doing the show this week, playing hurt. Mark, since you've been taking so many days off lately, people are referring to you as Taco. Thompson always chickens out. But I defend you, my friend. I do.
Cheers, pal. Thank you.
Hey, I'm excited. We have a new sponsor this week. The Culture Blast on the Mark Thompson Show is brought to you by ketamine. That's right, ketamine. I mean,
What?
how else could I watch and review more than a dozen movies and TV shows a week? I ask you.
All the cool kids are doing it, apparently, Michael. So
Yeah, I know.
what do you have for us this week?
Okay. I saw and sort of enjoyed the original Karate Kid movie back in 1984 for what it was, which was a family-friendly East meets West martial arts themed underdog against the odds drama with Ralph Macchio's soft American boy Daniel LaRusso getting trained by Pat Morita's sage Japanese karate expert, Mr. Miyagi. Remember, wax on, wax off. You remember
Sure.
that, right?
Yeah.
And the kid is going to face off against William Zabka's bully boy dojo terror, Johnny Lawrence. And I saw the sequel, but I was increasingly uninterested in the movies that followed, in what became a series so popular that it spawned the recent Cobra Kai TV show, which, of course, I've never watched. Anyway, the new Karate Kid Legends is the 6th film in the franchise, and it promised new blood with a new kid and the return of one of my favorites, Jackie Chan, as martial arts teacher Mr. Han, the Chinese colleague, apparently, of Mr. Miyagi, who brought his kung fu skills to the previous Karate Kid, played by Jaden Smith in the previous movie. Jackie Chan has been one of the greatest martial arts stars for a lifetime, and he endured a lot of damage, and it's great to see him still at this point in his life getting out there and mentoring, but it's great to see him on screen under any circumstances. In Legends, we get Kung Fu teen prodigy Li Fong, played by Ben Wang, a young actor. And Li Fong is relocating from Beijing to New York City with his mother, played by Ming-Na Wen, whose action bona fides are unimpeachable after her portrayal of Melinda May in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But alas, Ming-Na's character here is not a butt kicker. She is just a doctor and a concerned mom of Li Fong, who is smitten with a cute teenage girl now that he's moved to New York. And that girl's ex-boxer father owns a neighborhood pizza joint and is in debt to some thugs, of course.
Oh.
Anyway, Li Fong will try to save the pizza joint by winning the citywide youth karate championship, which means taking on a thug-adjacent a-hole from the local dojo, who is the current champ, is much bigger than he is, and cheats, of course. Now, this brings Chan and Machio onto the scene to train Lee Fong. And, the actors are likable, and director Jonathan Entwistle keeps the vibe lively, but the script is predictable to a fault. I mean, it's not terrible. Not terrible, one of my favorite reviews. It's just simple and simple-minded. I mean, call it inoffensive unless you're offended by franchise milking and IP exploitation. One thing is for sure, Karate Kid Legends is not particularly legendary. It is in theaters.
I must tell you, though, I kind of am drawn to some kind of predictability. Bad guys, crowding out this good guy. He has to get some help from Machio and Jackie Chan to other good guys, and then I know that my good guy's going to win in the end. I like that. That's what I didn't like about the James Bond ending the last time. How can you can't have the bad guys win, Michael? Too much of the time in real life, the bad guys win. I need escapism. I need the bad guys to lose.
Mr. Comfort Food, Mark Thompson. Okay, moving on. The Phoenician Scheme is the latest feature from the idiosyncratic filmmaker Wes Anderson. The shaggy tale of an elaborate business deal that requires a veritable odyssey to a series of exotic locales. It is delightfully delicious at times. It's kind of annoyingly flaky at other times. And so it's familiar in tone to many of screenwriter and director Anderson's other movies. And in typical fashion, it boasts an all-star cast, a load of whimsy, and a parade of glorious art direction and cinematography. I would put this, The Phoenician Scheme, more in the class of my favorite Anderson movies, such as Moonrise Kingdom, The Grand Budapest Hotel, which it kind of resembles in its embrace of period detail, and The Darjeeling Limited, rather than Asteroid City or The French Dispatch, both of which had moments of charm, but didn't kind of hold together in any coherent fashion, while standing as cinematic monuments to Anderson's, let's call it smug, self-indulgent side.
So you're saying that this is better than, this is one of the better ones. It does hold together.
It absolutely does. So it's the early 1950s, and Benicio del Toro, by the way, Benicio del Toro, if they ever make an Ernie Kovacs biopic, they gotta, I know that's for our older listeners and viewers, they gotta get Benicio del Toro. Here he plays a wealthy, aggressively avaricious, and a moral business magnate named Zsa Corda, who is the target of regular and frankly entertaining assassination attempts. So with his life always in the balance, he has decided to leave his fortune to Liesl, his only daughter among a brood of 8 or 9 sons by more than one woman. I know that sounds very Elon Musky, doesn't it? It really does. Anyway, Liesl is not the ideal heir because she's a novice on the verge of becoming a nun, and her spiritual views seem to put her at odds with daddy's greedy nature. For the record, Liesl is one pretty and meticulously made-up nun in training, and she happens to be played by a self-assured young actress named Mia Threepleton, who is, in fact, the real-life daughter of one Kate Winslet.
What?
And has clearly inherited a portion of her mother's skills. As for the rest of the cast, Michael Cera, very amusing as a stuffy professorial type who accompanies Zsa and Liesl on their journey to acquire funds for Zsa's big deal, which is an interconnected jumble of transportation and construction projects. And the targeted investors are played by the likes of Tom Hanks, Bryan Cranston, Scarlett Johansson, Jeffrey Wright, Mathieu Amalric, one of my favorite French actors, Riz Ahmed, and Benedict Cumberbatch, many of whom have collaborated with Anderson. But there's more. A celestial Bill Murray, F. Murray Abraham, Charlotte Gainsbourg, and Willem Dafoe, Hope Davis as a nun, and Richard Ayoade, who is the lead voice on the Fox animated show Crapopolis, as a revolutionary who wants to bring down any and all capitalists. I was totally on board with the Phoenician Scheme. It is in select theaters.
Wow, that's wild, because usually if you have that kind of Niagara Falls of celebrity through your film, it just begins to dilute it. Nobody's got a really big role. No one's got a substantial bit of business to do, and it just becomes a bunch of cameos. You're saying it does hang together, though.
Yeah, that's a flaw in some of his other films. I thought that was a problem in Asteroid City. I also thought the same went for The French Dispatch, but individual vignettes in The French Dispatch were wonderful and in tune with this guy's, quirky attitudes. And, this worked for me. And, again, your mileage may vary, but I really enjoyed the Phoenician scheme. Okay, let's get to something that I would not recommend to you or Kim. It's too scary. It's Bring Her Back. Anyone else besides you two who appreciates a good horror movie, and as I've said before, it seems like new horror movies come out on a weekly basis, should leap at the chance to see Bring Her Back. It's the new film from Danny Philippou and Michael Philippou, the Australian twin brothers who previously made the pretty decent scarefest Talk to Me, which was about this disembodied arm that becomes the centerpiece in a bunch of bizarre seances. But Bring Her Back is better. It is elevated horror in its glory, and it stars the UK's Sally Hawkins, who you may recall from Blue Jasmine and Happy. And this is as you've never seen her. She is positively chilling as Laura, an unhinged foster mother who takes in a vision-challenged teenage girl and her troubled older brother after the death of their single dad. And Laura has an agenda, and apparently another foster child who has, let's call them special needs. I mean, very special needs. This gets more and more deranged and creepy and horrifying, and everybody delivers here. I just thought it was, for what it is, and it is grisly. It has some horrifying moments. It just worked for me in a big way. It is in theaters wide, and shout out in particular to young Aussie actress Sora Wong, who plays Piper, the girl with the vision issues, and she in real life is vision challenged, and she gives a wonderful, natural and impactful performance. And you got to be pretty good to go up against Sally Hawkins and hold your own. And
Wow.
Bring Her Back worked for me in a big way.
Wow. Look at you. All right, what else do you have?
Okay, Bad Shabbos is a genuinely funny, even wacky, and at a couple points startling look at a well-to-do Jewish family's tradition-minded Shabbat dinner on New York City's Upper West Side that goes horribly wrong. So the eldest son, David, is about to marry a shiksa, Meg, who has agreed to convert, and her devoutly Catholic parents are traveling in from the Midwest to meet the Jews. You've heard of Meet the Parents and Meet the Father. This is Meet the Jews. Anyway, David's younger brother has issues, alas, and he's going to be at the Shabbat dinner. And David's sister, Abby, has a jerk for a boyfriend, and he's going to be at the dinner. And all of this will come to a head as the siblings, mom and dad, try and fail to put on a, let's call it a respectful and pious meal for their guests. So, with Kira Sedgwick and David Paymer as the Jewish mother and father, you have the benefit of really accomplished and versatile performers who can get the most out of the wry script from director co-screenwriter Daniel Robbins. John Bass and Megan Leathers are also fine as David and Meg, and it's really nice to see AT&T spokesbabe Milana Vaintraub as Abby and Ashley Zuckerman as her weasel of a boyfriend. But the MVP of Bad Shabbos might actually be rapper and actor Cliff Method Man Smith, who is hilarious as the apartment building's peripatetic doorman. I mean, he steals every scene he's in, even next to the veterans Sedgwick and Paymer. I enjoyed Bad Shabbos immeasurably. I enjoyed it a lot more than going to Shabbat dinner, Mark, and it's in select theaters. Bad Shabbos. You talk about me seeing the foreign films and whatever, and I'm just going to quickly, give you a bang on a couple of foreign movies that I think are worth discussing, but only one of them I can really recommend. I'll start with the weird one, Zenithal. The Battle of the Sexes was never so over the top or down below as in this raunchy French comedy. Again, it's called Zenithal. Like if you replaced Gen at the beginning of genital with Zenith. So this is about the killing of.
Smash it with your iron rod.
I don't know if I would have explained it that way, but all right.
There's an iron rod involved. This is about the killing of Pete Kong, a humongously endowed kung fu master. Oh, a little callback to the Karate Kid. Not really. A kung fu master who defeated all challengers using his massive member. I am not joking. I wish I was. His former opponent, Francis, now running a dry cleaning shop, is the cop's main suspect in the murder. And meanwhile, Francis's disgruntled girlfriend, Sonia, runs a self-defense class for women and is somehow also connected to the late T. Kong. The cast is game and includes that lanky guy who plays the gay staffer on the sitcom Emily in Paris as the lead detective on the murder case. And it looks like director and co-screenwriter Jean-Baptiste Sorel wanted to kind of, and I use the word advisedly, organically poke fun at toxic masculinity, performative feminism, and rampant fetishism. But this is pretty silly stuff. It occasionally amused me, but it wasn't as hilarious as the people involved hoped it was. Zenithal is not for everyone. It's in select theaters and available for streaming on July 1st. I can more heartily endorse a movie entitled The Old Woman with the Knife from Korea. This is about an elderly assassin who goes under the name Hornclaw, an older woman, and she comes into contact and conflict with this young would-be assassin with the name Bullfight. And the organization she works for, it's kind of like a Robin Hood organization. They kill people that deserve it in their minds. And you get her backstory, how she became an assassin, and you see her in her sunset years killing and maiming. It's like Granny Wick. And I'm thinking to myself, is this elder abuse? Not really. It's actually 2 hours of an elder abusing others in bloody, violent fashion. I actually enjoyed the hell out of it. My friend Hugh Brown, the guy who brings the clicker to John Wick movies to see how many people died, he said, "Oh, you got to see this. Seek it out." I did. I was rewarded. It is directed by Min Kyu Dong, and I got to say, kudos to the lead actress, Lee Hae-young, who plays Hornclaw. Yeah, maybe not for everyone, but I got a visceral kick out of The Old Woman with the Knife.
Wow, listen to this. The Old Woman with the Knife, you just heard it. If you want the visceral kick that Michael got, maybe that's the film for you. But there will be some bloodshed, apparently.
There will be blood. There will be blood.
Zethanol is the French offering that Michael spoke of.
Yeah.
You speak French, and I remember a little French. La comédie pour penser avec autre chose que ça, which means the comedy that you'll think about to think with another thing that you. What is it? What help me with that?
It's just sort of nonsense. It's the comedy that's about one thing but another.
I see. Okay, very, very good. He likes it, but he says it's you got to be up for.
I shrug. Yeah. I wish I had liked it more. I was amused at times. I know what they were trying to do.
Zenithal is out there for those who want to take a chance at somebody who's mixed martial arts. Apparently dominant with his member. Bad Shabbos is the funny movie about the Shabbat dinner that David and Meg will have. Meg is not Jewish. David is Jewish. Kira Sedgwick and David Paymer play the parents, and Method Man steals the show. Michael says, see it. Bring Her Back is about the foster mother and the foster child whose vision challenged. Sally Hawkins is in it, and apparently a brilliant performance from a legitimately vision-challenged actress who is impressive in this offering. Bring her back.
Sally Hawkins will chill you to the bone in this, seriously.
He really likes it, but it is it's horror of a sort, is it not?
Not of a sort, of a full-on grisly nature.
Okay, there you go. All right, so yeah. The Phoenician Scheme is the latest from Wes Anderson with a cavalcade of stars, as they used to say, and Michael feels it does hang together. He was pleasantly immersed in this Wes Anderson offering. The Phoenician Scheme is in theaters, and you will be apparently you'll be enjoying this Wes Anderson offering among his better ones. And Karate Kid Legends, the 6th film in the series with Jackie Chan, with Ming Na, with Lee Fong, with Ralph Macchio. Michael says it's a bit predictable, even though it's fun to see all these people again. But this formulaic predictability, it appeals to me because I love formulaic predictability where the good guys win. That's what I'm looking for.
Right.
Yeah. But Michael,
champion mediocrity. Woo!
Anyway, it is in theaters. Michael, thank you for hanging out with us. Love our visits on Friday. You can read Michael's musings at thevoicesf.com.
.org.
Oh, it's .org. It should be .com so people can make some money at that place. Thevoicesf.org. Thevoicesf.org.
Big article about defective detective TV shows about like quirky detectives. That's just went up yesterday, so check it out.
Michael's a great writer, and I really encourage you to read his stuff. Musings about things that aren't movie reviews. Thevoicesf.org. Snyder, the Culture Blaster, comes and goes on a rainbow. Bye-bye, Michael. Thank you.
I'll say it. Go Giants!
Wow, we are running a little behind. Thank you all on this Friday as we join you from a remote location, weird hotel room with weird lighting, and I don't know. Thank you, Albert. Thank you, Kim. Quickly, let me get to Mindy said, don't most people get a little crazy when they are 18? People grow and change. Yeah, that's about your social media history following you. Of course, that's true. Yeah, I mean, you just have to find a situation where they understand that. That's kind of the trick of that. CBD with a $10 super chat says, this is for the show. The brown-eyed girl loves you. Isn't that sweet? Oh,
that's
CBD. Nice. 3 of my favorite letters of the alphabet when you put them together like that. Franco, reminder to all of your listeners, wildland season is here. Please clear your property of weeds and debris and have a safe summer. Thank you, Franco, with that $5 super chat and that important reminder.
Franco's been on the show before. He's a firefighter, right?
Franco is the real thing. And thank you for reminding me, Kim. Yeah, he's the real thing when it comes to, and I hope, we don't, look, we always hope, but we may need Franco from the position of his expertise to weigh in at some point. Cousin Erie, a $10 super chat. Wish I could do more, but you have no idea how much it costs to have a life-size bronze statue shipped from Slovenia.
Too much, cousin, too much.
Too great, Cousin Erie. Thank you. And thanks, everybody, for joining us today. Albert, great job. Kim, great job. The After Party Live is next, and we will be back Monday from our home studio, and looking forward to that. Thanks to everybody. Have a great weekend, and until Monday, bye-bye.
I'm Shadow Stevens for The Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
All the time. Bye-bye.